Hey, everybody, it's the Gridiron six-pack, like David Lee Roth said in the Hot for Teacher video. Heard you missed us. We're back. Tony George, Griffin, Murphy right over there. Well, that way. Griff.
No matter. How we doing?
It's been a long summer.
Mm-hmm.
You've been out to KC to see me a couple times. You know how I roll.
Absolutely.
And you know we're fired up for football again. This is the 8th year edition of the Gridiron six-pack and the 3rd year for Mr. Griffin Murphy. And, of course, what we do is we break down 3 college and 3 NFL games for you over a 200-game sample size over the last 2 years. 62% against the spread, Griffin. That's unheard of in this day and age, for sure. And, of course, a week of college football, let's say a 1.5 week of college football under our belts, and some surprises last week in college football. And, of course, Bill Belichick made his debut on Monday night. I did take TCU in that game, Griff.
Nice.
And the only bigger gap between those two teams was the age gap between Belichick and his girlfriend.
Oh, yeah, I couldn't disagree anymore, man. But I will say the way that game shaped out, especially with that line movement, you had to know the entire public herd was going to be all over TCU, and they were, and it was an absolute blowout game. Terrible debut for Bill Belichick in college football arena, but hey, it's a long season, so I'm looking forward to see what this team could do on a bounce back, Tony.
Yeah, we're into week 1 here of the NFL. I know everybody's fired up. I kind of call this self-preservation mode week. You don't want to blow yourself out in week 1, ladies and gentlemen. I've been doing this 34 years. This will be my 35th, actually. I hate to date myself. But nonetheless, we are working, forget the preseason. We're working with the least amount of information that we're going to have all year long. Mm-hmm. With these NFL teams. So bear that in mind when you are in that mode. And you'll see a scrolling thing across the bottom of the screen. The six-pack 10, that's a promo code. Until Saturday at noon Eastern, you can get 10% off Griffin or Tony George, Griffin Murphy or Tony George, 10% off any package, a week package or higher. 30-day season pass for football. Six-pack 10's a promo code. When you go to those packages, you type in the promo code, it deducts 10% off. How about a little discount? To start the season? And we're going to start the season. With a battle in the state of Iowa. Now, this is an annual game. Iowa State at home against Iowa. Now, a couple of things you should know about Iowa State. First of all, my esteemed co-host, Griffin Murphy, attended Iowa State University for a year.
I did.
And he discovered a couple of things. He spent most of his time wandering around various administration buildings trying to figure out the meaning of life. And he also discovered that almost all the girls on campus could eat more chicken wings and drink more beer than him. So then he removed himself from school after that. But we do know, and you know this, Griff and I have talked about this, Iowa State, whether it's Hilton Coliseum or Jack Trice Stadium, is a snake pit to play in. Mm-hmm. This is one of the strongest home fields in all of the Big 12. I crap you not. I've been to numerous Nebraska games there when I lived in Lincoln, even when I've lived in Kansas City, dating way back, both in basketball and football. And Iowa State off a trouncing 55-7 to South Dakota last week. Week before, they really didn't shock the world, but they were an underdog. and they beat Kansas State over in Ireland in a good ball game, sloppy for both teams because it was the first game of the year, but a 24-21 win. And, of course, Iowa beat up on Albany 34-7. Interesting to note that Becht, the quarterback for Iowa State last week, Griff, 19 out of 20 for 278 and 3 TDs. I know it was South Dakota, but that's almost a perfect game. And then we go to Iowa. There's 3 things for sure in life: death, taxes, and Iowa's got a good defense.
Yeah.
Every year. Interesting game, total 41.5. Now, 42.5, now down to 41.5. Bear in mind that these are Wednesday lines, and these lines are going to move. Griff, couple pretty good teams going out of here. Big measuring stick early in the season.
Yeah, Tony, I will say, though, this Iowa team, it's kind of the same thing over and over again with them, season in, season out. And I'm expecting a very similar season to last year, and that was their stoutness on defense. This team is a very good defensive team. And again, they always struggle at the quarterback position. And then again, Mark Gronkowski, he had a 50% completion rating against the University of Albany. I mean, are you kidding me? 34-7. That's supposed to be your tune-up game. Iowa did not look impressive. They looked strong. They looked sharp, offensive and defensive, as they should. But at the same time, there were some miscues, I will say. They relied on that offensive scheme in the running back position with our Xavier Williams. I mean, this guy carried the load. He had 200 yards on the ground, looked absolutely phenomenal. And that's how this offense gets going. Now for Iowa State, as you mentioned, Rocco Becht. This kid came out absolutely sensational, and he's been great in his first 2 games. He went 19 for 20 in his most recent outing with 3 touchdowns, as mentioned. This Iowa State offense is absolutely loaded on that front interior as well as those tight ends. They are big, fast, strong, and they can find open seams in that outside gap, and they utilize that. Becht had 3 touchdowns in the air. All 3 were at the tight end spot. Now going deeper into this will be Iowa State's 3rd matchup this season, while Iowa comes into their 2nd game. First game in Dublin, Matt Campbell. What a job this guy did as head coach. So Iowa State was trailing against Kansas State at halftime, goes into the locker room, straightens his defense out. They held that offense, Kansas State, and Avery Johnson, who is an absolute phenomenal quarterback for Kansas State, held them to just 2 scores. Outright come back from behind winner and just held them to 2 scores. Phenomenal job by Matt Campbell. So now Iowa State playing their 3rd game at Jack Trice in this one. And then you have an Iowa team who I'm not sold by any means on this offense whatsoever, Tony. So looking at this game right now, Iowa State just bombarded South Dakota. They were a 2-touchdown favorite in that game. They beat them 55-7. So now looking at this matchup, Iowa State's the much better team. Rolling into Jack Trice, where it's absolute chaos. You're going to have kids absolutely hammered out of their minds at 5 in the morning pre-gaming for this.
Yeah.
They call it the Black Forest or whatever it is. Absolute madness. This entire crowd's going to be sold out. Iowa versus Iowa State. The only way that I could see Iowa State dropping this game is if they play Iowa football in the first half of this matchup. I don't believe that's going to be the case in this matchup. Iowa State cannot allow Iowa to beat them on the ground, and their offense needs to come out poised. And that means don't play into Iowa's defense. You need to air the ball out with Rocco Becht. So in this matchup, Tony, I don't think Matt Campbell is going to fall for that slip. I think he's going to come out aggressive, utilize his quarterback. I like Iowa State here. First half line on the money line, -140 to take this game early in this one, Tony. But another game that I did want to talk about over here is we've got Ole Miss laying a number. They're laying 10.5, rolling into Kentucky to play the Wildcats, total sitting at 51.5. Ole Miss, they opened up with a tune-up game as well against Georgia State, pounded them in a 63-7 final. But I do have question marks at that quarterback spot. Austin Simmons comes out. He throws for 3 touchdowns, but he had 2 picks against a defense like Georgia State. Now for the Rebels, they've got to roll into Lexington, SEC matchup, and play a very good Kentucky team. Tony, what is your thoughts on this matchup?
Well, last week I had a little pizza money on Toledo against Kentucky, and they didn't disappoint. Kentucky had a lot of problems with Toledo. I thought Austin Simmons put up some good numbers at quarterback for Ole Miss last week. In a big romp win. Of course, it was Alabama State, but Ole Miss has had this game circled ever since last season. Last season, Ole Miss, a little disappointing. They had Dart at quarterback, as you know. Now he's playing for the Giants, pardon me. But they were a 15.5-point favorite at home, and Kentucky went in and beat them 20-17. Probably played one of their worst games of the season against Kentucky last year. And Kentucky was a hell of a lot better team last year than they are this year. I thought they struggled offensively. I wasn't impressed with their quarterback. I know Stoops is a good coach, but Kiffin, they've had this one circled. They're going to come out firing in this one here. I'm going to play also first half line -6, 6.5, depending on your number on Ole Miss to be up by a touchdown at halftime. I think they air it out. They ran the ball very well. They really balanced their attack a lot last week. They've got a deep running back unit there. I'm going to go ahead and take Ole Miss on the first half line, and they're going to come out with purpose in this game after that loss last year. I can guarantee you that right now. So we'll take Ole Miss in the first half here against Kentucky. We'll switch gears here to a SEC Big Ten matchup here. One of the more interesting games of the weekend here, Griff, as Michigan travels down to Oklahoma. This line's dropped down from 5.5 to 5 in some places, and it still sits at 45.5 to 46. It's trending a little bit upwards here. Underwood versus Mateer, the transfer from Washington State, rolls in. This kid was all world at Washington State last year. They paid him a hell of a lot of nil money to come down there. A lot of people not sold on Brent Venables. Bear in mind, last year, Oklahoma, I think, tried to get the Waterboy to play wide receiver halfway through the season. They had more injuries last year than almost any team ever that I have seen in quite some time, and they really did not have a good year. They do return a very good defense. They're going to be defensively stout. There's a lot of pundits out there, Griff, that say that Oklahoma is a sleeper team in the SEC. Now, I don't believe that, but I believe they're a little better than advertised. And Michigan here, not for sure what we're going to get. They're going to run the ball a lot in this game. Your thoughts on this one down in Norman?
Yeah, Tony, biggest take for me is you've got Michigan's quarterback, Bryce Underwood. He's a freshman. He did play very well in his first game, passing 21 for 31, had a touchdown. But again, they did the same stuff, Michigan, where they rely on that run game. And it was effective. Justice Haynes, very good running back. And he set up for Bryce Underwood to be successful in that quarterback spot. The biggest thing, though, is playing New Mexico. They're always a gritty-vitty. They're a tough team always, but the biggest take that I took out of this Michigan team was the miscues on the defensive side. Their secondary got beat several times. Their defensive linebackers on the defensive outside were not stout whatsoever. A lot of miscues, but a huge miss factor for me was their special teams kicking. They were terrible on the punt, and they allowed New Mexico phenomenal field position all game long. Now for Oklahoma, they got, as you mentioned, transfer quarterback John Mateer, passed for nearly 400 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's a record breaking for a quarterback in a debut start for Oklahoma. So that was absolutely sensational. They have weapons all across that offensive line. The quarterback spot stacked, very talented core of wide receivers. And then on the defensive side, as you mentioned, Tony, they have returned 60% of their defense. Yeah. This is a top 10 power rated defense in all of college football. And on top of that, they've got 6 starters now from their recruited class back in 2022. So these are homebred guys that have played with each other for years on end now. So going into this matchup, Oklahoma just absolutely rolled Illinois State in a 35-3 beatdown. John Mateer, very good quarterback. There's a reason they're laying the number in this matchup, and I'm laying it too. They're the better team here. Too many miscues on the defensive side for Michigan. Too many question marks that I'm still uncertain about. And with Oklahoma, I saw everything I needed to see on the offensive side, and we already know that defensive side is stacked. So give me Oklahoma here. Lay the wood at -4 in this one. But let's shift gears here, Tony. Tony, go ahead.
I would think that this is make or break game for Venables. They've been unhappy with the results since he got there. Maybe he is a better defensive coordinator than he is a head coach. We've seen that a lot over the years with a lot of coaches that took the bump up. But to me, this is a benchmark game for Oklahoma. I mean, they got him at home. Last year, he kind of gets a pass because of all the injuries they had. You know, that's kind of a scapegoat. You know, it's supposed to be a next man up mentality. And a team like Oklahoma is supposed to have, you know, players 2 and 3 deep at every position because, quite frankly, they're freaking Oklahoma.
Right.
But at days in here, this might be one of the, forget the Red River War with Texas every year. This might be one of the biggest games that Venables has coached in. And I think OU shows up in this one. Just an FYI.
I hear you, Tony. And the biggest thing for me with this Oklahoma team is at the quarterback spot, but that defense. 6 starters from the 2022 class coming with their new head coach. I absolutely love it. I think Oklahoma is going to be a very tough team to beat this season. But let's shift gears now and let's get to the NFL. We've got Miami rolling into Indy. Indy laying 1, total sitting at 46.5. And the biggest question mark for me is, once again with Miami, is Tua going to be able to stay healthy? And can that offensive line keep him protected in the pocket? Now, the big storyline for me is Daniel Jones, no longer in New York, getting his first start in a Colts uniform over Anthony Richardson. Very curious to see how this one rolls out. Tony, what are your thoughts with this one?
Well, you kind of touched on it. You know, it's week 1 of the NFL, folks, and the best advice I can give you is, again, like I opened up the show with, self-preservation mode. You're going to blow your wad week 1 because there's going to be surprises. There's going to be games where the total is 46 and it's a 10-13 final. There's going to be somebody beat the hell out of somebody else, like the Patriots last year beating the Bengals at Bengals, which blew me out of the Circus Survivor contest, I might add. I bet that one like a square. But that being said, these things are going to occur this weekend. So what's the one thing of stability that you can always look for early on in the NFL season? Well, the same thing that you look for in every game in the NFL, and that is the battle is won in the trenches and consistency. And on both sides of the ball in the trenches, that favors Indianapolis. As you mentioned, how's that offensive line of Miami going to hold up and protect Tua and open up lanes for running backs? Akua's going to play, but I'm not sure they can do that. And then you go on the other side of the ball. Well, what are the Colts going to do? They're going to bang Taylor. They're going to bang a healthy Jonathan Taylor all day long behind one of the top 3 offensive lines in the NFL. So Daniel Jones, is it going to be on his shoulders to win this game? He kind of feels like he's at New York again, because when he was at New York for many years, all he did was hand the ball off to Saquon Barkley. Well, he's going to hand the ball off to Jonathan Taylor, and they're going to move the change and methodically go down the field and put points up on the board. I'm not sold on Tua. Never have been. He's an accurate passer. You got Hill running around, obviously can make plays. But at days in here, the fundamentals in this game, all the fundamentals, including, I think Indy's got a pretty good coach. I like this guy. I think he made the right call. Richardson is not an NFL quarterback, and he can't stay healthy. He got hurt in preseason first game. The guy gets hurt when the wind blows. He's the Porzingis, the Porzingis of the NFL. Like Porzingis always gets hurt in the NBA. Give me the Colts here, and now in some spots this is at a pick'em right now. There's some love for. I'll take a home team in a pick'em with the better guys up front and the stronger running game. And I'm not overly sold on McDaniels either as head coach. Maybe a good play caller. Go ahead and by the way, FYI, The Pro Bowl kicker for Miami is out. He got injured. He's not kicking. Telling you, a lot of special teams, a lot of games coming down to a kick this weekend. Give me the Colts at home. Let's switch gears. The Pittsburgh Steelers make the Aaron Rodgers debut against his old team, the New York Jets. They're a 2.5-point road favorite here. 38.5 is the total. Justin Fields gets the start. Ex-Bear, ex-Steeler. He knows what he's getting on defense. This is an interesting game. I'm interested to see what you have to say because this is one of my premium plays on my card this weekend, and we'll be sure and tell you what we got going on this weekend. Still a work in progress for me here on Wednesday, but nonetheless, Rodgers, 5-12, his last 17 starts as an NFL starter, and if you take, Griff, the last 17 games that Fields started versus what Rodgers started, Fields has a better QBR rating. Yeah. And by the way, the Pittsburgh Steelers minus Najee Harris. He's going to be playing Friday night against the Chiefs for the Chargers. So there's a few things here, few storylines, but getting down to the gnat's ass, how do you see it?
Yeah, Tony, I mean, this is a very interesting matchup. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers heading back to MetLife, only he's in a Steelers uniform under Mike Tomlin. And I will say, I do like the Tomlin-Rodgers duo. I think they're a good fit together. You know, two veterans kind of going at it right now. He's older on a new team, but what can we expect out of Aaron Rodgers? It's definitely not the same Aaron Rodgers that we watched in Green Bay. So everybody has to be careful with that. Yeah. He's going to be older. He's going to be slower. And we're just not too quite sure what to expect out of this guy. The Steelers, their offense is going to rely on how he plays. So for me, another huge gap for this offensive line for Pittsburgh as well is one of their right guards might not be getting the start, hurt. And obviously Rodgers throws from the right side. That is a huge blow for that offensive line heading into this game. Now for the Jets, with Justin Fields getting the start, we know all about the Jets. They're a defensive team. Offense has been a struggle for them years in, years out. Fields, though, I was sold on Fields when he was with the Chicago Bears. I wanted them to keep him, let this kid develop. But all I've heard and all I've watched is him on the decline. And practice squad, preseason, all year long, this guy went like 8 for 41 in passing completions during camp, which is not good by any means. I have not been impressed with Fields whatsoever. And then we have so many question marks, but we know two things for sure. Pittsburgh's got a very strong defense, and so does the New York Jets. So where does that lead us? There's only one route. Otherwise, there's question marks across the entire field. That is drilling the under in this matchup. I think that trend continues. Jets are an under team. Steelers are an under team. I think the trend continues. It's week 1. You've got a nervous Justin Fields at home. Is home field advantage a pro for him or a negative for him? For me, I can't really find a difference in that one because he's going to be nervous. This is game 1, New York getting the start. I mean, it's a big game for him, and he's going up against Aaron Rodgers. So there's a lot of miscues here, a lot of question marks for me. The route that I'm taking in this one, Tony, give me the under 38.5 total points in this matchup. I think we're going to see another low-scoring game, and I believe that trend is going to continue. But the one that we live for, Tony.
Well, just real quick. If you're looking at the side play in this one, there's going to be as many Steeler fans there as there are Jets fans. Steelers got a lot of transplant fans everywhere. And I was talking to a beat sports writer in Pittsburgh that I've known for years through my radio days. I've always kept in contact. And he told me, and I'll toss this back to you. He told me he was just how surprised he was of how immobile Aaron Rodgers was in terms of he just a statue back there. So if it collapses on him and New York does have a good defense, it could be a long day for Aaron.
Yeah, Tony, and I agree, and that comes with age. That comes with all of it. And Aaron Rodgers really hasn't seen the field in 2 years. He really he hasn't played. So he's older. He's on a new team. He's got a new head coach, brand new offense. There's still going to be stepping stones for this guy to take, whether it's the Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay or whether it's the Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh. A lot, Tony.
No, well, I was just going to say, you and I talked about this on the Vegas beat. We were a little surprised at all the scoring in the preseason, because usually in the NFL early on, whether it be preseason or especially week 1, week 2 in the NFL, you always find the defenses a little bit ahead of the offenses. And we hadn't seen that in the preseason. I think that comes back a little bit to the norm in the week 1 of the regular season in terms of the defenses being ahead of the offenses, especially in scenarios like this.
Agreed, Tony. And that's because there's been so many key players that have been moved to new teams, new core positions. Just like we talked about, Daniel Jones now getting the start for the Colts. There's so many examples of these prime key players that are now in new positions. And this comes with so much, getting intact with your offensive coordinator, getting intact with the routes you're going to be running, your assignments. There are so many different things. Now, when you're a defender, it's a little bit more easy. You know, you as a defensive lineman, your attack is, we're going to pound the rush game. We're going to attack the quarterback. You know, it keeps it a little bit more simplified. But switching gears, because I'm more excited as all hell, it's the Tony teaser of the week, baby. So let's hit him with it. Get me rolling.
Well, we're going to bring it up here. I went out to the Circa Millions contest, and they have what they call a panel discussion on Saturday mornings where they bring in a bunch of studs, professional bettors, number crunchers. Mike Palm hosts that. And I've gone to it every year. And they mainly are discussing contest strategy, especially the Survivor, which is up to 14,000 guys playing in the Survivor contest right now at Circa. They've got 14,000 plus entries. I'm in both the millions. But one thing they all three discussed was how 3 of the 4 thought that Seattle was going to win this division, which surprised me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying I'm buying into that, but based on the fact of who these guys were, it gives me pause. And another one they brought up, too, that might sneak up and win a division, surprise everybody, was the Colts. Believe it or not. But that gave me pause. But them catching points at home in this matchup, Griff, we're going to get it through 3. We're going to get it through 6. And we're going to get it through 7 at plus 8.5. Now, teasers in week 1 are risky. I'm telling everybody, you don't know what you're going to get. There's going to be a massive upset. You know, Cleveland could beat Cincinnati straight up you got division games. Here's one. Same thing with the other leg of this teaser with Washington and New York. So they're going to be tight. When you think they're going to be tight, give me the points and give me through and that's called a value teaser. When you're through 3 fall numbers are numbers that the game's likely to land on. 3, 6, 7. We're getting through all 3 of those. That's a value teaser. And, maybe Darnold, I know he looked like crap last year in the playoff, Griff.
Yeah.
But he played his ass off the entire regular season for Minnesota. Mm-hmm. Just in the playoffs, they just couldn't close the deal. And by the way, that's not a Sam Darnold thing. That's a Minnesota Viking thing. They always screw up in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. The team, all the great teams they've had, they've never won a Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. Think about that. Think about the guys they've had there. And how many times they've even but when the big game mattered, the Vikings have never been able to close the deal, FYI. Now, on the other side of the coin, the Washington Redskins, everybody is telling me that all you're going to see is regression.
Sure.
Daniels, rookie of the year, great quarterback, did everything right. The basic core of this team is intact. Now, they did lose Robinson at running back.
Yeah.
They've got a rookie they really love. They re-signed their wide receiver. The defense is going to be better. They did everything they had to do in the offseason to maintain that roster. They didn't lose a coordinator. That's key too. You know, so Kingsbury, I thought he might go take a head coaching job. Quinn and him did a nice job. Unlike your boy there in Chicago, who had no coaching last year, that was supposed to be the best rookie quarterback and ended up being kind of a bust. But you got to put an asterisk beside that because of the coaching. And now your boy there in Chicago's got a really good offensive coordinator and a good head coach and a good coach in general and a good coaching staff. So the jury's still out there. The jury's not out. While I don't want to lay 6 in a divisional game, this would, if you're playing Survivor this week, you want to stay away from divisional games, even with the obvious choice. But it's obvious to me that Washington can beat the New York Giants at home by 1 point, tease them down. I think that's a good value teaser. A lot of people dying to tease Arizona too this week. That's the biggest, probably the best, and tease Denver down as well. Those look like 2 big obvious choices. They're laying big numbers, not so fast, my friend. But so be careful with some of those. Survivor picks, yes. Spread picks, not so much, Griff. But nonetheless, don't forget, you get a free $60 from DocSports.com. Right there's the link above us. You also can add 10% off of that as well. 6-pack 10. Any football package from me and Griffin, a week or longer, 10% off. There's a promo code. Just type it in the promo box. Automatically deducts it. And if you're a new member, we'll throw an extra $60 on top of that. Well, that means you get a week package for basically $20. So you're looking for free picks, free stuff. That's what we're going to do. Now, I stunk it up last week in college football. Did close it out with a win. Nothing big, nothing more than a 3-unit play. We're bumping that up this week. We'll rebound nicely in college football. Some good lines out there. I'll have a 3 or a 4-pack. No games on Thursday, no games on Friday. I will have an NFL game on Friday between the Chargers and the Chiefs. I will have at least a 3-pack on Sunday. And Griffin, I may have a top play. A top play on Sunday would be 5 units max, and the rest of them are 3 or 2-unit plays. Again, self-preservation mode. And the Monday night game with your Bears and Vikings, I want nothing to do with. But remember, those games on Thursday with the Cowboys opening up the season in the NFL, up to 8 now against the Eagles against the Cowboys. Eagles laying 8. While you might not see value with the side and total plays on Thursday or Monday or even Friday for some of you, there's value in that prop market. Mm-hmm. We are attacking this prop market like we're freaking stupid. Yeah. I mean, Major League Baseball, I'm crushing it. Last year in the NFL, 22-8 with top picks. Yeah, the bell rang because I'm telling you, that's breaking news for those of you living under a rock. 22-8 with NFL top picks. I had a 10-play card for the Super Bowl with a 7-unit pick on it. It went 9-1. Yep. The prop market's open. Prop cards are on a separate section. Daily prop cards are $25. As we like to say, you can't go through Arby's for $25 for 2 people. Get those prop cards on game days in the NFL along with the picks we have. Griff, anything huge on deck? What's rolling this weekend?
Nothing massive, Tony. Last week was a success for me. I had a 5-unit 2 weeks ago with Hawaii, so that ended up capitalized. And then I had a 6-unit last week, which was a tormenting win against Georgia. I had Marshall. Anybody who I've never apologized on video for a win before in my life, that had to be the most tormenting game I have ever watched in my life. Anyways, that occurred the weekend. Went 2-1, caught it on a backdoor hook. It was plus 38.5, landed on 30, caught the win. So we're 4-2 right now across all football selections. I will have a 6-unit best bet in college football, part of a 3-play card. But in NFL, I've got a 5-unit circled up. I will not have anything bigger than that, and it's probably going to be a 2 to 3 play card. I have 2 plays circled up right now. I'm waiting on some line adjustments for if it's going to be a 3-play card, I'm waiting on a line adjustment. I'm hoping to get that point shift. If I don't get it, well, then I'm going to lay off of it. And again, like Tony just mentioned, prop market. I am going to have a huge prop card for NFL Sunday. I'm currently 17-6 in my last 23 prop selections and 8-2 in my last 10. So I've been rolling and everything's been very low volume. I'll probably have some juicy top plays as far as 5-unit plus across my prop card, as well as it will have at least 3 to 4 plays inside of it. So we're stacked up, lower volume on the NFL side of things on Sunday. Saturday, a little bit bigger, but excited to get back in action, Tony.
There you go, folks. And don't forget to tune in Monday mornings for the Vegas Beat. Scott Spreitzer and I will debut a post-mortem show where we bitch and moan and or celebrate and talk about the happenings over Saturday and Sunday over the weekend in college and pro football and give you a ton of transparency, win, lose, or draw. So be sure to tune into that on Mondays around noon Central. Thanks for tuning in. He's Griffin Murphy. I'm Tony George. We're Doc Sports. Be there, be square this weekend. Back at you next Wednesday.